So welcome to the Buddhist Path of Awakening course, and let's bow in. Tonight we're going to continue our journey through the realms, and to this end I've put a couple of documents in chat. You can access them there and move them to your computer or print them out. Except if you've just arrived, you may not be able to access them. And in which case you should let me know and I'll re-enter them later. Okay? These two documents, what?
I don't think they're in their front. I didn't just arrive and they're not in there. Do other people have them? Yeah.
Really?
Nope, I don't see it.
Huh?
No, I don't see it.
No. No.
That's strange. Well, then I'll have to email them to you after the lecture, sometime tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay.
One of them is just a sort of a handier version of the Buddha realms, showing all the different characteristics of each one of the Buddha realms, Buddha, Vajra, Ratna, Padma, and Karma. But the other one is, I think you're going to find it interesting. And what it is a breakdown of what we're going to go through tonight a little bit. The realms of samsara, the divisions of samsara. Last week, Michael taught the three lower of the six realms, the hell, hungry ghost, and animal realm. Tonight, I'm going to go through the other three, the human, jealous God, and God realms. But before we do that, I want to give you more of a general structure of samsara. These six realms that Michael and I are presenting are one part of samsara. There are three main divisions in samsara. Confusion. The first, what you might say, or at least the one that we're talking about tonight, last night and last week and this week, I just want to make sure we all are recording. Everything is copacetic. Okay. Is what's called the realm of desire. These are the three dhatus into which samsara is divided. Dhatu. Dhatu means space, realm, area. And the first that Michael talked about last week and that I'm talking about this week, the so-called six realms, are part of the Kama Dhatu, the sphere or area of desire. Each one of these realms, the hell, hungry ghost, animal, human, jealous God, and God realms, are divisions of the fundamental realm of desire. The Kama means desire, Dhatu. There are two more Dhatus, which we haven't discussed, and we're not really going to go into them very much. But they are above the Kama Dhatu. The first one is called the Rupa Dhatu. Rupa means form, or sometimes it's called pure form. And then above that is the Arupa Dhatu, the formless realm. These two realms, the Rupa and the Arupa Dhatu, are trance states. They are only achieved through mental concentration on an object and extreme concentration, to the point where the practitioner is basically in a trance. They're very peaceful, increasingly pleasurable. The Rupa Dhatu has, I forget, it's 17 or 18 different divisions, which we're not going to study. The Arupa Dhatu has only 4. That's the formless one. That's the very top. And those 4, to give you a sort of an idea of what they are, that's slightly humorous, the lowest of them is the realm of pure form. The one above that is the formless realm without any form. The one above that is not this and not that. You're meditating on that. And the one at the very top is not this and not that. So it gets increasingly abstract. These are trance states. When a person enters into these formless realms, these 3 formless realms that I've described, the Rupa Dhatu, these 2, the Rupa Dhatu and the Arupa Dhatu. When a person enters into them, they're gone mentally. And in fact, if you were to meet such a person, you might have difficulty waking them up to communicate with you because they will be so deeply in a state of concentration. That's what these realms are. They're forms of concentration, focusing your mind one pointedly on an object, increasingly strengthening that concentration. They are practiced in the Hindu tradition, these states of concentration. They're also practiced in the Buddhist tradition in certain Hinayana styles of practice, but with great reservation, great warnings, because they are cul-de-sacs. You cannot get enlightened practicing these concentrations. They're sometimes called in Sanskrit, they're called the dhyanas. Dhyana means state of concentration. In Pali, when they're practiced in Southeast Asia, they're called the jhanas. And they are forms of complete, increasing stasis of mind and peace. And they're said to be very pleasurable. I once asked Trungpa Rinpoche if it would ever be useful for any of us to practice the dhyanas, the jhanas, these states of concentration that take place within the realm of pure form and the formless realm. He said, only after you have developed an excellent or a good understanding of shunyata, emptiness, reality, then you might practice these dhyanas. Before that, you could easily get sucked in and seduced by them. And people spend whole lifetimes and beyond stuck in these dhyanas. So for instance, there are stories about great teachers, including Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, whom some of you at least knew of. Michael and I knew him. That great teachers would wander into caves where they would find practitioners who had gotten stuck in the dhyanas, in one or more of the dhyanas, and perhaps their whole body had withered away until all that was left, this is the phrase from the teachings, all that was left was a palpitating heart infused with consciousness. And it was the great teacher like Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, his job to wake the person up, to say, to let them know, you have been wasting your time, you're stuck in a dhyana, or a jhana, or whatever you want to call it. It's time to wake up and move on. Actually do some real practice. So, there are lots of stories about great teachers doing this to people who've gotten stuck in the dhyanas over the centuries. But when I asked Trungpa Rinpoche, I asked him, I said, would it ever be useful for us? And he said, only after you've developed an excellent understanding of shunyata because that'll keep you from getting stuck in them, you know. That's what he meant. And I said, well, why would you do it at all? And he said, to understand what human beings can do and to help those people who have gotten stuck in the dhyanas, but to understand the full range of human capacity, you might actually enter the dhyanas with them. But don't get stuck there. So one of the documents that I've given you lines out these three major dhatus. At the very top, the rupa dhatu, the arupa dhatu, the realm or space, the dhatu of pure form, of formlessness. Sorry, I keep misspeaking myself. Of formlessness, with the four subdivisions. And then beneath that, the rupa dhatu, the realm of pure form, which has, always forget, 17 or 18 subdivisions. And I don't really, I can't understand what they are because I've never practiced this. And then beneath that, the kama dhatu, where we live. And in the kama dhatu, you know, there are the 6 loka, the 6 realms of the God realm, the Deva loka, the jealous God realm, the Asura loka, the human realm. I forget what the word for human is. You remember, Michael? And then there's the animal realm beneath that, and beneath that is the hungry ghost realm, the Preta loka, and beneath that, the hell realms. And these are the 6 realms, and this is really what we, as human beings who are not practicing these extreme concentration states, deal with. But I wanted you to know the full range of the possibilities of samsara, because it's not just the 6 realms. It's above that into these states. And there are people, both Buddhist, but especially non-Buddhist, who practice these states of concentration because they are very pleasurable, blissful. But the problem is, sooner or later, you're going to wake up and realize that you've wasted a lot of time in this realm, and the disillusionment can be so intense that the practitioner who spent all this time in one of these form or formless realms, he's so unhappy that they wasted all that time that they can be plunged down into the kama dhatu and all the way into hell, unhappiness. So they're dangerous unless, as Trungpa Rinpoche said, you have developed an excellent understanding of reality, shunyata. Then you can practice them with safety in order to understand what other sentient beings might be going through, and in order to be able to help them. Any questions on this at this point? I'll send out this document which lines out these 3 realms, the realm of desire, the realm of pure form, and the formless realm, and it actually gives you the subdivisions of all of those realms. So you will have it. Tonight we're
I do have a question. So how is it different?
Huh?
How is it different from the God realm?
They are God realms. Good question.
Okay.
All of these, the form and formless realms, are God realms. They're God realms because they're pure pleasure, more or less, and they are attempts to escape from suffering altogether and achieve pleasure. The actual God realm of the human that we experience in the 6 realms is the lowest version of them.
Okay.
Great question. Yeah, they're God realms, definitely. Okay. So tonight we're going to start with the human realm. This is the, in the six realms, this is the Kamadhatu. Below these realms of pure form and formlessness. And below that, we have the Kamadhatu, the realm of desire, with its six subdivisions. And tonight we're talking about the three higher. The realm of human beings we're starting with, which is in the middle. And Francesca starts out by saying that in Indian cosmology, human beings dwell on 4 different continents situated in the cardinal directions around Mount Meru. Mount Meru is the center of the world. It's a big mountain. And on top of it, Mount Meru, the Ganges originates, springing from Shiva's brow, and it flows down the side of Mount Meru all the way to the ocean. It's the axis, the Mount Meru, the axis of our world system, and we are in the southern continent to the south of Mount Meru, which is called Jambudvipa. And as you read about Indian cosmogony, and especially even Buddhist, you'll come across that word a lot, Jambudvipa. This is where human beings live. And today it's referred only to India or South Asia. And also it's referred to include the whole planet Earth. As human beings on a psychological level, we continuously pass through all 6 realms, from the hell up to the God realm, during the course of our daily lives. But there is a quintessentially human quality that pervades all of our experiences. So here we need to step back for a second and understand how the realms are experienced. They're experienced in 3 ways. One is we're born into a realm. We are born into the human realms. Don's little dog Trilby is born into the animal realm. And there are other beings who are born into the others of the 6 realms that we're going to talk about, including the God realm. But we don't have access to those. We only have access to most of us, to the human and animal realms. So that's the first level of understanding what the realms mean, that you're actually born into a body in that realm. The second is that human beings, as human beings, we can have psychologies that dominate all or a lot of our lives. And I've always used this example that years ago I used to be a life coach, and I had a lot of clients on Wall Street traders. And the mentality of these guys, they were looking at the people who had made it, who were million billionaires, and they hungered for that. They were jealous gods, and they lacked scruples. A lot of these guys were crooks. They were, and not even ashamed of it. They just talked to me about it. And this is the jealous God realm. And you can find people in your experience, I'm sure, and even in your own experience, you can experience the jealous God mentality, which is that you see the God realm and you want it. And in fact, in the Wheel of Life, the realms are shown, and the God realm is shown as having the jealous God realm is shown as having a tree which grows, and its fruit hangs over the wall that separates the jealous God from the God realm and drops into the God realm, which really pisses off the jealous gods. This tree is growing in their realm, but it's dropping its fruit into the God realm. That is quintessentially jealous God mentality. So the realm of human beings, we continually pass through all the 6 realms. We can be animals. You've met people who have a very animal mentality. They just sort of want to eat what's in front of their nose. They're crude. They're maybe even without feeling. You've met people who are in the hell realm. I mean, you've seen them at least, if not having met them. I remember when I lived in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and this is my example of the hell realm, seeing occasionally people walking down the street screaming at no one. People looking terribly demented. Meet them on the subway too, back in those days. And these are people who are in a human body, but they have the mentality of a hell being. So you can be in a human body and have a mentality of a god, perhaps a billionaire movie star who's really got it made in every way, might have the mentality of a god, nothing but pleasure, and so forth. So those are the main, the two main ways the realms manifest for us humans. The third way, and the final way, is that you can have a flash in the course of your day of one of the realms. So somebody comes up to you and says something nice, and you have this flash of pleasure and appreciation that this person complimented you, or vice versa. The person comes up and insults you, and you get furious, and you have a flash of the hell realm. So these are the three ways that the realms can do manifest in our lives. One is we're born into the human realm. Second is that we can have the ongoing mentality of a particular realm. You've met people who have the ongoing mentality of a god. They're just absorbed in pleasure, or of an animal, crude, consuming, or even of a hell being, or of a jealous god. I remember when I was in college, I belonged to a club. It was an all-male school, and this was a men's club. In my college, they were called secret societies, and this was a secret society. And we went every Thursday night. We had meetings in a room, windowless room, 4 stories up, and we all sat there on benches, these carved wooden benches, and there was a format. And I remember one of those guys, whenever he came up, you had the feeling that he was hungry, that he wanted to be included, that he felt excluded, that he felt less than. Yeah. And I always felt like, and now looking back, hungry ghost, feeling less than, feeling lacking. How many people here have met a hungry ghost in their lifetime? Anybody? Dan, what was that person like? Unmute. Tell us what that person was like.
Many that I've met have been alcoholics, addicts.
An alcoholic addict.
Alcoholics, addicts, yeah. They've been.
That's a good one.
Cousins of people.
That's a good one, yeah.
But I've seen it manifested in, little bits in everybody, more or less.
Yeah, we all can manifest it, can't we? Well, that's a good one. Alcoholics, yeah. Drug addicts. Might be hungry ghost, animal realm. Brutal criminals might be animal realm. Yeah, we can think of it. So these are the 3 ways that they manifest. And she says, as human beings on a psychological level, we continually pass through all 6 realms during the course of our daily lives. Yet there is a quintessentially human quality that pervades all of our experiences. So we're fundamentally human, but we can experience the animal realm when you get really hungry and you just start mindlessly shoving food into your mouth until you get stuffed, or any of the other realms. The traditional correlation for human beings is with the Padma family, the transmutation of passion and desire. It's the family of the Buddha Amitabha and the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the 2 most beloved manifestations of enlightenment wherever Buddhism is spread in this world. So there's obviously a deep attraction inherent within the human mind to all that Padma represents. Trungpa Rinpoche described the human realm as the epitome of communication and relationship, which in turn is the essence of passion. This is what he described the human realm as being. And of all the realms, only the human realm beings are so curious about everything around them, so emotional, so affected by others, so anxious to make contact. And along with communication in the human realm, there's a creative urge, an idealistic striving for perfection. We want to know everything there is to know. We want to attract everything into our own sphere and bring it under our control. Scientific research is essentially a passion for knowledge, and art a passion for expression. And these are all distinguishing factors of the human realm. This passionate quality of magnetizing curiosity and creativity has fueled human development from the very beginning of history. It's called a precious human life, though, this life, because among the 6 realms, it offers the best opportunity to practice the Dharma and attain enlightenment. In the human realm, we have the ideal sort of combination of enough suffering to motivate us to want to tread the path and enough intelligence to see how to do it. We're born with a longing to find out the meaning of our existence, the desire to attain perfection, and an instinct for relationship. This is so characteristic of the human realm. All these qualities allow us to receive the communication of the Dharma and open our minds into the space of awakening. An animal can't do this, and certainly not a jealous god or a god. They have no interest. They're too busy doing what they're doing. The suffering of the human realm occurs when passion degenerates into grasping, greed, and lust. The suffering of loss and not being able to keep what we love. The suffering of not getting what we desire and having to endure what we dislike. These are the main types of suffering. You don't get what you want, you get what you don't want. And the suffering of the pain and of death, which comes along with the human body. Trungpa Rinpoche said, the human realm seems to have less pride than any of the other realms. On the whole, it is a human characteristic not to dwell on one's achievements, not to remain satisfied, but always to be moving on to something new. This is what we do as human beings. And this makes it possible to be open to new possibilities and receptive to spiritual teachings. But pride can easily turn into arrogance and superiority, which all too often dominate human relationships with other human beings, especially animals. We can be so cruel to our pets. It's an inherent attitude of arrogance combined with passionate curiosity and creativity could have enabled humankind to dominate nature to such an extent. So it's arrogance combined with passion and passionate curiosity and creativity. So we have developed through the evolving of mental power, inquiring into everything with insatiable curiosity and inquisitiveness, and boundless inventiveness. And this is what has built up civilization. Trungpa Rinpoche relates the human realm to the bardo of the illusory body. This is a bardo, replacing the bardo of Dharmata in the usual list of the 6 bardos. The essence of this bardo is the realization that one's own body and mind, as well as all external phenomena, are unreal, just an image in a mirror, or a reflection of a moon on water. This is the realization of that. This realization cuts through the belief in our substantiality and our attachment to it, and places us in a position of total uncertainty about our own existence. We never know quite where we are, whether things are real or unreal, solid or transparent, friendly or threatening. We don't know where we're going, what this is all about, where we've come from, what's real. So she says, understanding the principle that things are not what they seem is the first step toward attaining the pure illusory body of the deity. which links to the appearance of the peaceful and wrathful deities in the Bardo of Dharmata. We're going to encounter them. The Buddha of the human realm is Shakyamuni himself, who belongs to the Ratna family. He's also sometimes called the lion of the Shakya family, and he holds a begging bowl and a mendicant's staff, which symbolize the antidotes to both pride and desire. He gave up his life as a prince and became a homeless beggar with no status, possessions, no sensual pleasures. In the eyes of worldly people, he was a complete failure, Shakyamuni Buddha. Yet his presence radiates absolute joy, fulfillment, dignity, and peace. This is a supreme challenge to the basic assumptions of the human mentality. His empty begging bowl presents the ultimate paradox, emptiness. And seeing it can suddenly plunge the mind into the open space of wakefulness. This is the human realm, the realm of intelligence, the realm of spiritual quest. And above it is the realm of the jealous gods, the Asuras. This is their Sanskrit name. They're fierce and bloodthirsty creatures. A lot of them have very powerful, passionate, and destructive skills. They're sometimes evil and demonic, intent on the destruction of the world while the gods fight on the side of good. Their tendency of the Asuras towards aggression and violence also often makes them appear demonic. They're jealous of the gods and want to enter and conquer the heavens. Have we met people like this? But instead, they inhabit a region next to the heavens, and they can see the heavens, and they feel jealous of it. So impulsive jealousy sparks their aggression. Whether it be jealousy of someone else's wife or husband, or status or possessions, aggravated by the conviction that all these things belong to them by right and are being denied to them. They're portrayed on the wheel of life as warriors dressed in armor and bearing weapons. They possess all the qualities that warriors need and that heroes need as they go through history: courage, leadership, dynamism, and above all, tremendous energy. They're not unlike dictators in our own world, with characters ranging from noble and highly civilized to coarse, ruthless, and tyrannical. They are renowned for their magical powers, and if they're attracted to religion, it is generally in order to gain power. These jealous gods, these Asuras. They often attain highly advanced spiritual states through ascetic practices, which they pursue with single-minded ambition, like everything else they undertake. The attitude of a jealous god is one of discontent, which makes it not possible to continue to enjoy the blissful experience of the gods. Yet there remains an underlying envy of those who can still enjoy the god realm, a feeling of being cheated, and a fear of losing what was ours by right. In the discussion, I hope some of you know jealous gods that you might bring forward. Yeah. I remember years ago there was a guru, a Western guru. He had long hair, wore robes. He attracted many people in New York. Anybody remember who that was? And he was really a bad guy. He collected all these followers, and they kind of worshipped him. Had long flowing hair. No, it's funny, I can't remember him now, his name. So, among the jealous gods, suspicion grows rampant, Nobody can be trusted. We imagine that everyone is spying on us and gossiping about us jealous gods. Attempts to communicate appear as a threat, and conspiracies are seen in every direction. This is the paranoia, the extreme of the jealous god's state of mind. So they dwell on the slopes of Mount Meru, just below the realm of the gods. Another treasure that the gods possess and the jealous gods lack is Amrita, the elixir of life. There is a story of how the gods acquired it, cheating the jealous gods of Amrita. As a result of this deception, the jealous gods are condemned to suffer terrible wounds and die in large numbers during their battles, while the gods are miraculously healed by this Amrita, the elixir of life, and live in immensely long lives through the power of the elixir. The characteristics of the jealous gods are very close to the karma personality: action, aggression, destruction. This is the karma personality. They always feel that their neighbors have got something better, that the grass is greener on the other side. Whatever they possess, they're afraid that someone is plotting to steal it, just as they would themselves. So they have to remain constantly on guard, always prepared for war. With their sharp intellect, they imagine that everyone is playing some complicated game or engaged in some conspiracy against them. In spiritual life, the jealous gods are ambitious. Their energy leads them to extremes, and they can easily become fanatics. They are intensely competitive, seeing rivals everywhere. The karma family to which they belong is connected with speed, which we see in our culture and way of life. We live in a speedy world where it seems more and more important to get whatever we want right now. And this is the realm of the jealous gods. A karma family's distortion into the politics of envy demonstrates clearly how the energy of action can become demonic if competitiveness and suspicion are allowed to get out of control. It's based on speed. Simply staying alive entails a constant battle for the jealous gods against the forces of decay. All right. In this realm, the Buddha appears as a warrior, green in color, holding a sword and shield, and dressed in shining armor. His name is Vimachitra, he who wears a brilliant garment. This Buddha, simply blocks all the attacks of the jealous gods and brings their headlong rush to a stop, so that by confronting the Buddha, they are forced at last to confront themselves. And above the realm of the jealous god is the realm of the gods, a realm of material indulgence on the lower levels and spiritual indulgence on the higher levels. So these are the two aspects of the God realm: material wealth and happiness, and spiritual indulgence on the higher levels. A place of pleasure and perfection, the highest samsaric realm, the realm toward which human beings often strive, unless we begin to get this message and tread the path to enlightenment instead. The gods enjoy everything they could possibly desire, are highly intelligent and creative, possess magical powers, and are able to attain the most advanced states of meditation. And when I read this description, I thought of a restaurant that I liked in New York down on the Lower West Side. And in fact, Val's daughter worked at this restaurant. It was called, some of you may have been there. It was called the number 4, Charles, because it was on Charles Street, Prime Rib. And it was slightly below street level, very small. And when you went in there, you saw all kinds of famous people. I remember seeing Robert De Niro sitting at a table, eating his prime rib or steak or whatever it was. And it was just full of famous and wealthy people, Fort Charles. But there were so many restaurants like that in New York. They were, for the rich and famous. If you watch the movie Treme, the television show Treme, which is about New Orleans after the flood, a lot of it is about famous restaurateurs who came down to New Orleans from New York. I remember, I'm blanking the names of some of these restaurants now, but they're famous restaurants in New York that I used to go to once in a while and splurge. Cost a lot of money. The gods enjoy everything they possibly could desire. I thought Fort Charles, prime rib. They're still bound within samsara, traveling the wheel of life through the 6 realms. And the realm of the gods is divided into 3 parts, known as the 3 worlds: the world of desire, the kama dhatu. Oh, I already told you this. The world of form, the rupa dhatu, and the arupa dhatu. Sorry, I had it here in my notes. They're all part of the God realm. The kama dhatu is the world of the senses, and this is the one that we might experience in part, in flashes, or maybe we even get fully developed into the realm of desire. It's desire for the pleasures of the senses, including pleasures of the mind. The 5 other realms and the lower realms of the realms of the gods are completely dominated and determined by sensory experience, ranging from almost entirely painful in the hells to entirely pleasurable in the heavens. And there are 6 heavens in the desire world of the gods. This is we're still in the kama dhatu. We haven't gone into the realm of pure form or the formless realm. And they're inhabited by various classes of gods, these 6 heavens. All contain magical palaces, magnificent pleasure gardens, and every kind of perfection and satisfaction that could possibly be imagined. And perhaps we know people who inhabit the realms of the gods. Think about it. According to mythology, the lowest of the heavens is situated on the slopes of Mount Meru, that mountain in the center of the world. It is ruled by 4 great kings of the cardinal directions. It's a very worldly and materialistic kind of paradise, whose inhabitants enjoy power, grandeur, wealth, and status. Above it, on the summit of Mount Meru, is the heaven of the 33 gods, which are Hindu deities. This heaven's ruler is Indra, with his thunderbolt weapon, his Vajra. You've seen that. The original Vajra. He's the god of storm and the god of war. He's a great hero in battles against the jealous gods. And the wish-fulfilling tree grows here, and there are other treasures, especially Amrita, the elixir of life. Above all, the gods possess the elixir of life. This is above all. And all healing medicine, which bestows longevity on whoever drinks it. This is their greatest blessing and is at the same time their greatest curse. For the gods are not really immortal. They live unimaginably long lives in human terms and show no signs of aging, but eventually their lives must come to an end because they're not immortal. They cannot imagine their own death, and they never contemplated or prepared for it. So when it actually arrives and they begin to disintegrate, to deteriorate, it causes them extreme suffering. So extreme that if they survive while they're mentally deteriorating, they can be plunged into the hell realms. And above the 2 terrestrial heavens are 4 more heavens in the sky around the summit of Mount Meru, we're still down we're not even at the Rupa and Arupa Dhatus. The first of these is characterized as free from all strife. The second, Tushita heaven, is a realm of complete satisfaction. This is where the Buddha Shakyamuni dwelt before his birth as a human being, and where Maitreya, the Buddha of the future, now waits for his time to descend to earth, the Tushita heaven. In the third heaven, the deities can magically emanate everything they desire. And in the fourth heaven, the deities there have only to wish, and whatever they desire is spontaneously produced for them by others. These heavens are the reward of many successive lives of virtue. Their disadvantage is that with so much pleasure and fulfillment, it is difficult to find enough motivation to practice the Dharma, and nobody there does. This is why it's considered best to be reborn as a human being, which all of you have been. Mara, the evil one, who tempted the Buddha on the eve of his enlightenment, offering him different temptations, is also known as the sovereign of the world of desire and dwells in its highest heaven. He represents the seductive aspect of spirituality, which is appropriated by ego to convince us that we are making great progress and are becoming highly evolved beings. Ha! So, remember, when we get to the form and formless realms, which are above this, the God realm that we can experience, so that we can see people experiencing. But when we get to these states of their pure state, they look like people are meditating. Only they're not really meditating the way we meditate with shamatha vipassana. They're concentrating, focusing the mind one-pointedly on an object and entering into states of trance. These are the God realms, the highest God realms. So the deities in these realms are no longer dominated by desire for sensual pleasures. They've lost their attachment to coarse sense perceptions. They experience themselves as immaterial, so they are said to have subtle bodies of light. In the formless world, that's the very top one, they have transcended attachment to all the senses except the mind. They are pure spiritual beings with mental bodies that have no visible form. Since they have no physical bodies, they cannot undergo death in the ordinary way. So when their immensely long lives eventually come to an end, they simply awaken in a different realm or on another level of the God realm. There are 21 levels of these profound concentration states. So we're not going to go through them. Already have a little bit. Just the highest one, the Arupa Dhatu. Well, the realm of form, the one that's further down, just above the sensual God realm, is divided into grains of weak, medium, and strong. It has 4 levels, each one divided into weak, medium, strong, and that makes 12. And then above them, there are 5 further levels, known as pure abodes, so they can get to 17. Akanishta is the heaven in which the Buddha became enlightened. It's the highest one. And then above that, the formless world, as I said earlier, consists of 4 extremely subtle and profound levels of meditation, concentration really, not meditation, which the Buddha mastered under the guidance of his teachers before he set off on his own to attain enlightenment. The Buddha realized that these states of concentration do not result in liberation from the cycle of rebirth. He says, for these inhabiting the very highest, the formless realm, in the first stage of concentration or absorption, everything is perceived as being infinite space, open, empty, insubstantial, and unobstructed. The second level is the experience of the infinity of consciousness. The third is the experience of there being absolutely nothing. In the fourth, one transcends even the concept of nothingness and enters a state in which there is neither perception nor non-perception, the highest point of samsaric existence. And you don't want to get stuck there. Because once you realize that it's a dead end, the disillusionment can be so great that the person is plunged all the way into hell. Brahma and Indra rule these worlds. They're representatives of the absolute principle of concentration. So they praised the Buddha, but didn't follow him. It says, traditionally, the poison that most affects the gods is said to be pride, connected with the Ratna family. In his commentary, Trungpa Rinpoche relates the gods with pride, which he defines as intoxication with the existence of the ego. The state of mind of the gods is one of complete self-absorption, suggesting a combination of pride and delusion. Self-absorption is the key to the human experience of the realm of the gods. On the lower level, it appears as indulgence or dwelling on the enjoyment of such things as health, wealth, beauty, education, and all kinds of pleasures. But to be in the God realm psychologically means that one is not simply enjoying these things, but using them as a means of maintaining one's sense of self. Life is seen as a search for happiness and fulfillment. When that search becomes the whole purpose of life, it can easily develop into an obsessive concern with youth and beauty, healthy living, self-improvement, emotional growth, and so on. And I'll just relate, I had what I consider to be a brush with the realm of the gods on a lower level. Back, let's see, when was this? Must have been in the early 70s. I started a business with a fellow some of you may know named Greg Conley. And it involved selling vacation products. And we went up to Aspen to involve the managers of resort condominiums up there. And they got involved, and they were interested. And we encountered all kinds of Aspenites, people who were totally absorbed in wealth, very rich, beauty. The cult of beauty was everywhere, and pleasure. And we would often go out to dinner with these people and just marvel at the mentality, the privileged mentality that they had. It was, I don't know what it's like now, Aspen really was a god realm. Perhaps a lower level, certainly not one of involving the concentrations. But it says here, the gods are the supreme exponents of illusion, building castles in the air, but they become entranced by their own magical creation, are convinced that it is real and permanent. The feeling of being immortal is a very powerful godlike characteristic that we as human beings secretly have within us most of the time. This is interesting. And I'm going to ask you to contemplate this and think about it. Again and again, great teachers have reminded us that only an awareness of the inevitability of death can wake us from our complacency. Trungpa Rinpoche said in discussing this realm, ego's ultimate dream is eternity, particularly when eternity presents itself as meditation experience. That's a beaut. that you might achieve a level of meditation experience that gets you beyond death. This is one of the illusions. In the higher God realms, the worlds of form and formlessness, we become entirely absorbed in states of concentration. So the sense of self becomes much more subtle, beguiling, and dangerous. This is in my notes. It's only natural, from the point of view of ego, that once we have reached a wonderful place, a God realm, we want to stay there forever. And in the experience of Shakyamuni, all the Buddhas of the universe came to him and told him that it was impossible to attain liberation through the samadhis of the formless realm, these states of concentration. And they took him down to the Akanishta heaven, the summit of the world of form, where he became fully enlightened. And this is very significant because the formless absorptions into infinite space, infinite consciousness, not this, not that, and complete non-duality are the most seductive of spiritual experiences. At this stage, it is extremely difficult to distinguish subtle grasping from genuine realization, or the dissolution of ego from its crystallization. He says the meditator might experience these states as union with God or with a formless absolute. Because for as long as there is a self to attain union, there must also be a transcendent other with which to be united. So, the very experience of absorption of the gods becomes an object of grasping and a means of self-preservation. Yeah. I'm going to stop here. And we could have a discussion of this if you like. Anybody know any gods? Or any jealous gods? Asuras? I don't think we've got any gods here, but all of us have experienced traces, moments of the God realm, don't you think? All of these realms, jealous God, even though I think all of us are fundamentally human. No comments. Dan, are you saying something or are you talking to somebody else?
No, I'm just laughing. I don't think it's no comment. I think it's no audible comment. It's a lot of heavy stuff. It's heavy, it's important. Yeah.
And do you know anybody who's been a god?
Um, I, I honestly, the most I can say is I know people that I think that they think they are, yeah. But it's hard to sometimes it's hard to tease out my competitive stuff with that, a particular person. Some people I feel it's more clear to me that it's not my, it's not at least not predominantly any part of my issue with them, but sometimes it's hard to tease out the difference, especially with someone you're close to, but yeah, I know people for sure, yeah. And I think we see it all the time, obviously, on the news, especially lately.
Oh, yeah? Do you see any public figures you think are in the God realm?
That I think, well, I don't know. Is it legitimate to say they're in the God realm if they think they're in their God realm, or that would be the jealous God? I guess that would be more the other God realm.
They're
I
very
mean,
combative
yeah.
and self.
Well, yeah. I think what we're seeing now is everyone who thinks they have the answer to what's going on, or that they. I mean, look at Elon. I think he would say he's in the God realm. You know?
Elon Musk. That's
Yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, almost purely, right?
She,
Three hands up.
so Shinya has her hand raised.
Hi. The question came to mind. Um, in Vajrayana, there's a lot of talk about bliss. I'm just wondering how is the bliss in Tantra or Vajrayana different from the bliss in the God realm?
What do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
What would I know? I haven't experienced bliss, but I, yeah, I'm not sure. So I don't remember being a god. Maybe I have, but I guess there's the non-duality aspect to bliss, but I feel it's a different kind of bliss, so I just wonder if you can clarify.
You think what? Say that again. I couldn't catch the last part.
Mhm. Like, I feel that the word bliss has a different meaning in Tantra. It may be like actual sensation of bliss, but I feel it's goes beyond that. But I don't really know exactly what's the difference.
Well, I assume that the bliss of the God realm has to do with self-aggrandizement and a feeling of building oneself up, whereas the bliss of Tantra is the experience of ongoing reality in all its color and warmth and full of compassion. What do you?
Thank you. Maybe. I guess it's not necessarily pleasurable, as well when Tantra talks about bliss. Like it can be just vividly painful, but also bliss. I don't know.
I've always had it explained that there's always a sense of effort to the God realm because it's not bliss in the Vajrayana is because that's your true nature. Whereas in the God realm, there's always a sense of effort to create and maintain and hold on to something. It just becomes increasingly more subtle. And that's why eventually gods die, because it's anything that, it's impermanence, anything that's compounded, anything that's created at some point causes and conditions change and it comes apart. But not that I've experienced it this way, but my understanding is that what we experience, our true nature, it's not created in any way. It's just a true experience of who we are. So that it is a different kind of bliss in the sense that it's not in any way something that's effortful or created or compounded in any sense.
Yeah, I think
And
that
that's
makes
why, as John was saying before, John was quoting Trungpa Rinpoche, why it's so important to understand Shunyata first. Otherwise, you think that there's a you and there's something you're experiencing and therefore there's something to hold on to, and that's where the effort comes in.
Thank you.
Miriam.
Yeah, no, I think this was useful, distinguishing a true state of enlightenment or the godlike state of bliss, because the higher levels seem to describe what I've heard from mystics, this idea of union with a transcendent God. And I mean, it's confusing on that level because we would consider various mystics as having achieved a certain level of um, enlightenment in some form, like through meditation or silent prayer, or but they talk about a union with, and so in that sense, it's not truly non-dual. And so I was going to say, in the realm of the gods, some gurus and also some of the saint mystics that we hear about in Christianity.
Okay.
And I think it makes it confusing, except that perhaps this model make kind of helps to shrink it down to some extent. I don't know. See, I'm still trying to figure out whether in that state of union with a God, so to speak, where there's a lot of love and compassion, whether and union as in a dissolution of self, if it's not the same as in the Buddhist sense, or in the sense of the realm of the gods. Like the difference there to me is very subtle.
What do you think, Michael?
I don't know. I think that there are saints who seem to have developed a high level of compassion, and I think that they could be bodhisattvas on the bhumis. We don't know. I think with the God realm, there's a level of a kind of a self-enclosed ignorance to the God realm. Everything's beautiful, everything's good, and you know, um,
Yeah, so I think that's the answer, like that, and I've seen it in human beings, like very accomplished and grand personalities, and I think what distinguishes them from enlightenment is a level of self-delusion, an inability, I think, to see reality for what it is. Like, and there's blind spots.
yeah. Yeah. The person I always think of as a jealous God, Donald Trump. Always conflict, always there's always an enemy. There's always, but other people may not agree. There are other politicians too who I think are jealous. They're always doing something. They're always aspiring to something else, and there's just a constant sense of attack or being attacked.
And a delusional element too. I think to me, that's what is the telltale sign, lack of.
Well, and then there's this line, ego manifests as thinking, I am experiencing this awareness, this peace, this bliss. Yeah. My notes, self-absorption is the key to the human experience of the realm of the gods. Self-absorption. On the lower level, in the Kama Dhatu, it appears as indulgence or dwelling on the enjoyment of such things as health, wealth, beauty, education, and all kinds of pleasures. Many of the normal aspiration of human beings could be considered expressions of the God realm, or heaven on earth. But to be in that realm psychologically means that one is not simply enjoying these things, but using them as a means of maintaining one's sense of self. Life is seen as a search for happiness and fulfillment. When that search becomes the whole purpose of life, it can easily develop into an obsessive concern with youth, beauty, health, self-improvement, emotional growth, and so on. And that's when I wrote to myself there, think Aspen. Everybody looked so beautiful, you know. People were really beautifully dressed and healthy. So there's always a certain amount of self-consciousness and self-congratulations in this neurotic approach to pleasure. Steve.
Well, my question is like, what can be done, especially for like the beings in these that are stuck in these unseen realms? Like, or do they just have to wait for like karma to wear out? Like kind of like when there's been times when, I've definitely been so angry that I can't like until I calm down, I can't, be dealt with rationally or something like that. Or Dan gave like, when addicts are like just in that realm fully, I mean, they've so is that just is there any way to help them, or that they just their karma has to wear out and they have to just be in the human realm at some point?
I think that saner people can deal with those people. Show them reality, make them wake up. Don't you?
I mean, it's tricky. Like I kind of see like both sides. Like sometimes it's just like I said, like sometimes I'm just in a place where until I come back, until like that karma wears out, I can't really be like reasoned with. And I see that with other people too. But I just don't know how to to help people like who are in some of those states. Like it's just that's kind of the thing I struggle with.
You may not be able to relate with them.
Yeah.
Just like you can't relate with a Donald Trump or, you know. What realm would you put Donald Trump in?
I don't it's probably the jealous God realm because just there's this never satisfied kind of yeah, kind of like what Michael was describing. I think that's just pretty true. That's what it seems to be most of the time.
We all experience the God realm from time to time. Probably wish it would last longer. Wish we could hold on to it. Well, if there are no further comments, we can end early tonight, a little bit. We have discussion tomorrow night. Let this percolate.
The God realm is another example of why teachers will say that shamatha is helpful and necessary, but not sufficient.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's helpful because a lot for most people, we're so distracted and caught up in the speed of mind that we're not able to pay any attention at all. But what really brings liberation is vipassana, and through vipassana development of prajna. That's prajna that recognizes emptiness. And that shamatha by itself is not necessary for most beings, I think. Maybe not everyone, but in itself not sufficient.
How many of us are wishing we were in a God realm in one way or another? Marion.
Yeah, I was going to say that it looks good from the outside. There seems to be, I have a friend who I believe is in the God realm, or sometimes stepping into the jealous God realm. And I see the abundance, and I see all of the excesses and adoration, and it seems like a heaven, but it's so fragile. And the ego is still very vulnerable, because an attack or criticism leads to a lot of, trying to compensate and defending one's position. It's like, I don't know. I see narcissism a little bit like that too, as a personality disorder, and there's a vulnerability underneath it. And, unless you have unless you have good mindfulness, pleasure doesn't last very long. It soon becomes, you adapt, and it doesn't do much. It doesn't do much. You need more and more in order to sort of fulfill the need for, I don't know. It just seems like it's never going to be a solution, except for those who, I don't know. I still confused a bit about the God realm aspiring towards spirituality and transcendent states where it's not materialistic anymore. But maybe there's still a seeking. So, yeah.
What do you think, Michael? Should we end tonight? Yes. Let's end.
Yes.
Anybody have anything that they would like to say before we end? Nope. Okay. Who's leading the chats? I've forgotten.
And just a last calendar issue, next Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to cancel next Tuesday and Wednesday, and also the week after that, because it's Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day, and then it's New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So we're not going to have class, and we're not going to have discussion group for 2 weeks.
And I think Hanukkah starts at Christmas also.
So happy Hanukkah. Thank you for reminding me, Bill. We'll send out an email too. So who is leading the chats?
Don left.
Oh, Don left. Okay. Who wants to lead the chats?
I'll do it.
Good. Shall I put them up for you, or do you have them?
Yes, please. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to mute everybody. So unmute yourself, Dan.
We will close by dedicating the merit generated by our practice and study to the benefit of all sentient beings. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great East, may the lotus garden of the Rigden's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
You all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Mm.